Hello, welcome to Pursuit of a Perfect System. My name is Terry Ellis. I'm an audio reviewer and a professional Dirac Live calibrator, and it's that time again. It's episode 6 of my weekly hi-fi and AV hot news update, where I look back at the previous week's news and pick out the highlights and come on here and talk to you about them and give my opinions on them. And this week's episode is going to be a little bit different. The second half will be actually me coming to you for some tips, some ideas and some suggestions for something which hopefully is going to come off in the very near future, and certainly something that's got my attention at the moment, which it's never had my attention before, but all will be revealed. Now, before I get stuck into the hot news from last week, I want to put a huge thank you out to Drop, or most of you will probably know them as Massdrop, because they've sent me 2 different headphones, or one of them's a headphone system. If you can see behind me, they've sent me the Sennheiser HD6XX open back headphones, which are based on the legendary HD650s, which were about £1,000 back in, I think, 2009. Really sought after and popular and really highly regarded headphones, when these new Massdrop versions are a derivative of that and an improvement of that design, but they only cost $220. So they seem like they have the potential to be an outstanding bargain, and there'll be a link below this video in the description if you're interested in picking up a pair, and there'll also be, I think it's about $20 off. So use the link and you also get a discount on them. If that wasn't exciting enough, as you can see there behind them, they've sent me the Koss ESP95X, which is a full electrostatic headphone system. So it's electrostatic headphones and a headphone energizer. That costs $500. And now recently I reviewed the Sonoma M10 headphone system, which is a £5,000 headphone system based on electrostatic technology, a slightly different version of it, their own newer technology, but still it'll be interesting to compare a £500 electrostatic based headphone system. And again, if you're interested in picking up this headphone system, there'll be a link below this video in the description. I think using the link you get $100 off the asking price. So no, really good deals, and there'll be reviews of both of these headphone systems coming soon. If that wasn't headphone crazy enough, hopefully you can see there to my right, those are the Audis LCDX. Now, I personally bought those headphones recently because I've been using the Audis i10s, which are up there, hanging up on one of the hands up there. I've been using them for different things a lot, and I thought, right, I'm just going to jump straight in at the deep end and pick up a more premium pair. So there'll be videos and reviews coming for the Audis LCDX soon as well. Right then, let's get stuck into the highlights from last week's hi-fi and AV news. I'm going to start with a company I'm sure all of you are familiar with, and that is QED. Now, when I first got into hi-fi, the first speaker cables that I ever bought was QED Silver Anniversaries, and after that I remember buying more QED speaker cables, and more speaker cables, and more speaker cables, right up to their XT40s that I was using for my surround sound speaker cables in my review system, up until very recently when I did the Dolby Atmos project, and I'll put a link up there to just the first of many videos that I created for that project. Well, QED have a new range of speaker cables. They have the reference XT40i, which is an improved version of the XT40 that I just spoke to you about, and they've managed to create an air dielectric technology, which is bound to improve on an already fantastic speaker cable. QED XT40i is priced at £11 per meter, and there's also an XT25i, which is the same speaker cable but in a by-wire version. Now for something completely different, literally as different as it could possibly be. Wilson Audio, a company I'm sure you all know, and for a lot of you probably love, they announced something new last week. It wasn't new speakers, it was actually a new paint program, and by that I don't mean a program they're running in local schools where they're helping children paint pictures of their favourite speakers. No, I actually mean they've designed or devised their own new paint finish process. Wilson Gloss Premium Pearl is a new paint finish that's been devised in conjunction with their most recent speaker system, the Chronosonic XVX. The Wilson Gloss Premium Pearl is different to a normal metallic finish. With a normal metallic paint, you can very obviously see the metal flakes within the paint. Wilson Gloss Premium Pearl is still a metallic based paint, but it has a much finer grain, which gives the finish a more of a pearlescent depth. And there are 5 different colours to choose from: saffron, bergamot, cranberry, Olympia and viola. Now these are really quite bold colours, and I can only imagine what the Wilson Audio speakers look like finished in this new style of paint. On that note, Wilson Audio have made a point to tell their customers that you cannot gauge the finish of this paint just by photos or websites or magazine articles. It's really something that you need to see in the flesh, and as a result they've designed their own presentation box and presentation style, which their dealers will have, so that their customers can see in the flesh just what this finish is like. So that is exciting stuff, and that pretty much sums up last week's highlights of the hi-fi and AV news. And now I want to move on to something very different. Now I've been reviewing the Audiolab 6000 products that you can see there to my right, the 6000A and the 6000N. And because they're up here in my office and because they're dialed into my little office review system, I've been listening to more music in this office than I ever have before. And I must admit, as an audiophile, I am a stubborn, stuck in my ways audiophile. Up until recently, I've had just one main system that gets all my money, all my attention, and as much time as I can spend to it, listening to it. And in that system, I'm very much a devout, everything must be at the best it can possibly be. It's all about pure performance. And I've got no issue with that. I still feel like that towards that system, because to me, that is a fantastic goal to work toward. When I put this little office system together, really I was thinking of the complete opposite to that. I was just looking for something that was small, affordable, look nice, that I probably would listen to every now and then. As I mentioned, I started reviewing the Audiolab 6000 products, and I've been listening to country music on internet radio for several hours a day as I've been working in here. And one of the cool things about that system and using the DTS Play-Fi app by my phone is that when I make a phone call, the Audiolab mutes while I make the phone call. When the phone call finishes, the Audiolab continues to play music. And I've been really enjoying that actually. And it's come as quite a surprise. Coupled that with some communication I had recently with a very well-regarded and high-end speaker manufacturer, where they discussed with me about sending me some of their speakers, which are really designed to go in difficult places or on top of a desk, like what you can see behind me. Put the two recent situations together and it got me to thinking about desktop hi-fi. Would it be possible to achieve that kind of high-end, high-level sound performance on a desktop? And I started thinking about what would it take in order to achieve that. And I started rummaging my brains, thinking about electronics, different components that I would need. And I come up with pretty much a mind blank, because it's just not something that I'd thought about too much before. Now, when it comes to speakers, it's much easier. Maybe your obvious active speakers like your KEF LSX, or there's a whole host of active speakers that are designed to be used around a desk. They would be, I suppose, obvious choices in this regard. But I like active speakers. I think they make a lot of sense, but they also kind of remove the fun aspect of it, don't they? It's kind of like a sealed unit. There's nothing you can do with it. You can't really upgrade it. You can't really mess around with amplifiers and DACs and other bits and pieces, and you can think completely differently. I think that's absolutely fine. And the conversation I had recently with the high-end speaker manufacturer, and if they send me those high-end speakers, they are high-end desktop type speakers. So if you've got access to those types of speakers, then you need to put a system together to do them justice. And I was thinking, well, that's all well and good when you've got loads of space, but what can you do? What sort of system can you put together when you've only got a desktop space? Now, while I talk about a desktop space, the desk that you can normally see behind me, which is cluttered at the moment with all this kit, that is what I would normally class as having a desktop space. It's like a typical, it's actually quite a large desk, believe it or not. But for the purposes of this exercise, I'm going to extend that desk over to this area over here, which is normally just covered with stuff. I'll just put stuff over there so it's not a blank background. I think we've got well, we've got a printer over there which would need to stay because I use the printer. You know, this is an office, and we've just got, I think, a tape measure over there at the moment. I think there's a wireless speaker system from memory and a couple of other bits. Now I could obviously remove those bits and give us a desktop area in which to place some equipment, and that gives me about a 15 by 15 inch area whereby I would place some hi-fi equipment. So we'll use that as kind of like the basis of the maximum amount of space that I could have to put something big there, maybe like a big amplifier. So that's really what I'm going to say is our space limit, 15 by 15 inches with maybe a little bit of overspill onto this desk. So I was sitting there racking my brains, and I've got to be honest, the first product that jumped out of me, probably very obvious to you as well, the Ned M10, which is very comprehensively specified all-in-one unit, which has the big one for me, the Dirac Live. That would be, you know, the winner for me, regardless of everything else. But obviously it's got inbuilt streamer, 100 watts of amplification, so ample amplification, built-in DAC. It's got quite a lot of connectivity, and it's also small. So you'd think, well, that's kind of like the perfect, or on paper at least, perfect desktop system, really. All in one, all in a small box with all the extras like Dirac Live. And to me, that's massively of interest as a product. So I have emailed NAD, I haven't had a reply yet. Maybe they'll get back to me if they get to see this video, because I'll be interested in getting one of those in. From there, I started racking my brains. Well, let's think about what we would need if we was looking at some separates. So start thinking about small sources. The first one that sprung to mind would be a Melco N10. That's kind of like a half-size chassis, which I reviewed a couple of months ago and thought sounded excellent. Slightly different approach actually was, I've been looking at this product for a while actually, a MiniDSP HD Studio, which is a typical MiniDSP unit really, kind of like a Swiss Army knife. It is a streaming platform based around Volumia, I think is how you say it. It's got Dirac Live built in, it's a preamplifier, it's a DAC, it's a digital source. Beyond that, you can connect other music sources to it like NAS drives, and you know, it goes on the network and pretty much ticks your typical boxes for, I need one box to do pretty much everything. And it's priced at about $900. It does offer a lot of functionality for pretty reasonable money really. I think an obvious initial option could be running something like a Chord Electronics Hugo TT2 with a T-Toby amplifier, or maybe two T-Toby amplifiers in monoblock configuration if you really want to push it. Another option, and a really sexy one, would be a Macintosh MC252, a hybrid integrated amplifier, you know, sitting over there with a Macintosh green glows. Obviously I could adjust all the RGB lighting in here to be a similar sort of green, and we'd have like that really cozy green glow going on all the time. That would be really cool. And obviously we'd need a DAC to go with that. I've got a Chord Electronics Qtist sitting around at the moment doing nothing, so that would be, you know, black on black, a really nice and I think a really high performing desktop system, wouldn't it, when you think about it. Stepping that up to something a bit bigger, a couple of months ago I reviewed the Nagra Classic integrated amplifier, which is a £15,000 integrated amplifier, which is actually really quite modest in size. Now, I wasn't thinking of it necessarily for a desktop system. I'm pretty sure it'd fit in our 15 inch by 15 inch space over there, which means it would be a potential or option or choice. At that point, I was like, I'm kind of out of ideas and I really need some help and some suggestions to think of what would make the ultimate desktop type system. Now this is just in theory. I'm not saying I can get all these different products in and review them all, but if we was to put what I would class to be probably the best desktop speakers, I'm thinking of the Wilson Audio TuneTot speakers. If we was to put those in here in this room, what system would you suggest, or what system would you think would be ample and good enough to power and drive those speakers and give a really clear sound from them? But with that limitation, it's a desktop system. It has to fit in that desktop space, so 15 inches by 15 inches with a little bit of overspill if necessary. So I'm putting that out to you. I thought it'd be a little bit of fun as well for you to come back to me with your ideas and suggestions. And who knows, maybe sometime in the future, something like this may come off. Sometimes you never know what's going to happen in the future. And there's a hell of a lot of stuff going on here at the moment, as you can see all around me. So there's going to be some fantastic videos coming soon, and I hope you're enjoying what I'm doing. I'm trying to make this content as varied as possible, as interesting as possible, and try and make it fun as well at the same time. So if you've got to the end of this video, well done. Thanks very much for watching. Again, go and visit Massdrop or Drop and check out their products. Big thanks to them. Thanks very much for watching. Leave a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll be seeing you soon. Thanks for watching. Take care.